think is going to be the Archaladon in this match overall, then I think we've got a match in favour of Maurice. But let's get it started. Let's get it kicked off. Round 1 here in Dortmund. Mousehold and Annihilate for Maurice. Electabuzz and the Sneasler here on the field for Jonathan. So a bit of fake-out pressure right off the bat.
This is a really nice lead for Jonathan. You can redirect those beat-ups that could be going into the Annihilate in order to boost up the Rage Fist. But then also you have the Sneasler there ready to threaten the Mousehold. You can Terra Fairy, but then Direclaw becomes super effective. So Jonathan really in the driving seat heading into this one. Annihilate can be going for one of those bulk ups. It's relatively safe to do so, but then you've got Taunt on the Electabuzz too. So Mousehold deciding, this is looking scary. I want to protect the kids here. Let's go for a protect. As Electabuzz does indeed go for Follow Me.
Follow Me would take away a beat up from the Mousehold. So I really like the way that Jonathan is approaching this matchup, just saying that's the problem. Hit my Electabuzz instead, as the Mousehold correctly protects itself, of course, from that close combat.
Yeah, and that's going to be the bulk up coming out from the Annihilate as well. So, and at full health too, so Maurice taking full advantage of that turn. As long as that Electabuzz is on the field, it can be redirecting away those beat-ups, but this is where the bulk up comes in so handy. You don't need to rely on a partner Pokemon to get some boost to your Annihilate. Rage Fist is still at base power, it hasn't been hit at all, and that's how Rage Fist works. The more hits you receive, the more powerful the move gets.
And it's going to be a struggle for Jonathan to go for his speed control in this situation. Not that Sneasler needs it at all, it's the fastest thing on the field, but for preparation for later, you kind of want to make that Annihilate a little bit slower so it's easier to deal with, and it can't get its drain punches before your Pokemon attack. But Electro Web would activate the Defiant ability, and that could be catastrophic.
Well, we'll have to see if that comes into play, but for now, Electabuzz wants to be the star of the show, going for Follow Me. Here comes the Direclaw, and it gets paralyzed. The Mousehold has the paralysis. It might be unable to move, but it's not guaranteed. Here comes a Bear Rage Fist right now into the Electabuzz. Time to deal with this as quickly as possible. Just look, the dividends that Eviolite plays, the Eviolite has in store, but Mousehold is able to get that taunt off into the Electabuzz, and that's huge because it can now no longer go for Follow Me's, so beat up is very much online, but the Mousehold is still threatened by the Sneasler.
It is, and seeing how much damage that Direclaw did, doesn't matter if the Mousehold goes for Terror or not. Jonathan doesn't have to risk lowering the defenses of its Sneasler. Not that it matters too much because of the Focus Sash, but now you don't have to worry about that type matchup. You can just knock out the Mousehold and take away the beat up from being able to be a factor at this point in the game. And that could really set up Jonathan for the long run, where you take away one of the most important support pieces. Maybe you've got to switch out your Electabuzz to bring it back in later, but seeing how much that Rage Fist did to it, I think it's got a lot of opportunity to redirect attacks in the future.
That Electabuzz, quite the opposite here for a long time, rather than necessarily a good time. But Direclaw heading straight into the Sinistcha. Will it get a status? No, it does not. The Annihilate able to get a bulk up off as the Sinistcha is providing some lovely matchup on the field. But of course, the Annihilate at full HP doesn't need to recover at all. But there comes the Electro Web. Absolutely huge, because now this Annihilate gets a double attack boost. Let's see if this Annihilate can now just go on an absolute rage through the rest of Jonathan's team.
This is what I love about watching Jonathan play. He is aware of what's going on, but he's willing to take those risks. He can see a game plan in the distance, and just making sure that you're trying to knock out the Mousehold with the Direclaw plus the Electro Web might be part of his game plan, but now definitely not his game plan. The Electabuzz is switching in on out of there.
Electabuzz has been grounded and coming out instead. Here swoops Dragonite, and it's time to get Sparkly Trainers. Time for our first terastallization of our EU 2025 season. It's going to be the Sneasler. It's gone for its Stellar Terra, the Terra type introduced in the Indigo Disc around 9 months ago at this point. This is going to be giving a one-time boost to a move of Jonathan's choice. A boosted Direclaw with that Terra Poison into the...
Oh, it's not enough.
Not going to be enough for the knockout, but it is enough for the sleep. That is not something Maurice wants to see. That is something Sinistcha is not going to be able to act this turn. A little bit of recovery from the berry.
Wow, that is such an important sleep there onto the Sinistcha. I'm just going to double check this because I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, it does have the ability to go for a Trick Room. So that could have been a fantastic game state for Maurice to be able to get into. The Sinistcha going for a Trick Room. The Annihilate has got a speed drop already. It's got all those attack boosts, and then it would have been the fastest Pokemon on the field. But Direclaw showing exactly why it's one of the most scary moves in the video game right now, just putting that Sinistcha to sleep. And now, with the Dragapult coming in, carrying that Choice Band, at least the Annihilate's got 2 defense boosts that it's had from his bulk ups. It's going to be able to resist that Choice Band Dragapult a little bit better than it would have otherwise, but it still puts Maurice a little bit on the back foot.
One mug of matcha is enough to send anyone to sleep, and that's certainly Sinistcha getting a taste of its own medicine. Archaladon joining the field right now. Outrage goes for the Outrage. It goes straight into with a critical hit to boot. You do not see that every day, trainers, and Archaladon brought down to such low HP, but at least the Direclaw not going to be doing anything into that Steel type. Big Drain Punch now into the Sneasler. Not very effective because it is a part Poison type. No recovery there because it was at full HP. Really interesting to see Maurice go for that play because he's threatened by super effective damage from the Ghost type Dragapult, but now it's locked into Outrage with the Choice Band.
And it can't switch out. The Rage Fist is going to be able to target it down. Now, this Annihilate hasn't yet been hit, so it's going to be relying on those boosts to its attack stat to be able to knock out the Dragapult, but almost certain that it's going to be able to. If the Outrage does target down into that 8 HP Archaladon, it's obviously going to be going down, but it could also target into the Annihilate, and that would boost up the power of that Rage Fist.
The Annihilate is at +4 right now in its attack. Outrage this time going into the Annihilate. It's really bulky and got some defense boost. It's a lot of damage, but nowhere near enough as Dragon Pulse coming out from this bridge over troubled water going into the Sneasler. Big Rage Fist into the Dragon Ball. Surely it's going to be enough to secure the one-hit knockout, and it is!
Dragapult taking a one-hit knockout, going back to its trainer. That's the first knockout in the Dortmund Regional Championships here, and it's a one-hit knockout. We start the weekend as we mean to go on here, but that now gives Jonathan the opportunity to bring in a Pokemon of his choosing, and that's going to be Primarina, and you can see the effect of the Electabuzz going for the Electro Web onto the Annihilate in the previous turns. Now the Primarina is likely to be faster than it. It's going to be able to target down the Annihilate with a Moonblast. It could haze away all of those boosts that the Annihilate has spent so long trying to get its way up. And of course, the Sneasler is going to be able to target down into the Archaladon with its Assault Vest. It can't protect itself, so it's probably going to be going down now.
Oh, well, yeah, so it's on such a low HP as well. The Direclaw targeting into the Annihilate this time. Jonathan fishing for one of those cheeky status conditions. Snarl coming out, though, into Jonathan's team. That's going to be reducing the special attack of, crucially, the Primarina here. Sneasler doesn't mind that so much, being a physical attacker. Moonblast directed into the Annihilate here as well. So no haze. We do still have these stat boosts online, but it's a button that Jonathan can quite freely click at any point.
Maurice has played this really well, actually. I think Jonathan was respecting the switch in to the Sinistcha, activate the Hospitality, get the Annihilate a little bit more healthy, be able to take a Moonblast from the Primarina. But actually, Maurice holding his ground and just saying, no, I'm going to Snarl. I'm going to make sure that your Primarina is not doing as much damage, that actually it's less likely to get a knockout, and then try to get in that Hospitality HP boost to the Annihilate a little bit later on.
Yeah, it was the Electabuzz being the star of the show earlier, but right now Primarina is here, providing one of its beautiful arias on the field. It's time for Maurice to switch, going into that Sinistcha. So here we're going to see that Hospitality ability come in. That was so cute, seeing its little sleeping face as it came out of the Pokeball. There it is, a nice little boost to the HP for this Annihilate. But here we go. It's time for Maurice to match this Terra into the Annihilate, going for its Terra Water. Now, we were saying before how Terra Fire is a common Terra type on Annihilate, but Terra Water is great into Primarina. That's going to be resisting those Hyper Voices changed by Liquid Voice into Water, and of course neutral damage from the Moonblast. Oh, we're going to have a status. It's poison. Okay. Jonathan has had the full trio, the full set of status conditions right now. Annihilate, though, just poison, takes that Moonblast. Now, a special attack drop would have boosted the attack even further of the Annihilate thanks to its Define, but here comes a big Big Rage Fist now into the Pre-Marina. That's enough for the knockout. This is why you've got to respect this furious ape.
You didn't even need the hospitality HP recovery to be able to survive that combination of attacks, and partly because of that snarl dropping the special attack of Pre-Marina previously. But that Rage Fist has been boosted up twice now, and it's really looking for knockouts in every Pokemon that it's targeting down. Here's the Electabuzz coming back in. That damage that it had before was from a Rage Fist that hadn't been boosted up, and now, well, Charlie, I think it's going to take a little bit more damage this time around.
I'm just looking at those status conditions flashing on the screen for poor Maurice here. This is really dire straits, although Maurice has been playing this incredibly well, but his Pokemon will not be having the best time on the field right now with those status conditions. Now, Electabuzz is threatening super effective damage into this now Terra Water Annihilate, but as you said at the start, just took the Bear Rage Fist. Now it's got all these boosts. Electabuzz is in the face of a very different beast right now.
It certainly is, and of course, if that Sinistcha wakes up this turn, which it has the opportunity to do, it can redirect attacks away from the Annihilate here, and Drain Punch is just as viable here as the Rage Fist to be able to recover some of that HP. I think it all comes down to whether or not the combination of Dire Claw and Electro Web can knock out the Annihilate, but we're not going to be seeing it this turn. Sorry, Charlie, Maushold has gone down.
Maushold has been felled. The Friend Guard is off the field. Here comes the Electro Web. This is going to be giving another Defiant boost.
Oh, it's enough.
If it can hang on,
Single
but
target.
It cannot. A critical hit as well. Single target. That's the Annihilate down. So now all of a sudden, Maurice also down to his final two Pokemon, with an Electabuzz looking incredibly healthy. We know that the Archaldon is on such low health. The Sinistcha is asleep. Is going to need to be waking up sooner rather than later. And by sooner, I mean now.
Yeah, right now. Right. Sinistcha! Sinistcha! Yeah, it's definitely got to. But I mean, that hospitality is actually coming in clutch here, because it takes the Archaludon away from being knocked out from an Electro Web. Sneasler definitely going to be able to knock it out with a close combat. That hasn't been boosted up yet by the Terrastella. Definitely a KO potential here. But as we said in the last turn, Rage Powder could. And it is the wake up this turn. Rage Powder going off from Sinistcha. Let's see how Jonathan is targeted.
Sinistcha, I'm so pleased you're listening to your alarm there. That is close combat going into the Sinistcha there. Electro Web coming out as well. That's really interesting. Just a little bit of chip damage there. I wonder why close combat was targeting into the Sinistcha.
It's the Rage Powder targeting that down, stopping it from going into the Archaludon.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the Rage Powder redirecting that close combat. So Rage Powder really coming in clutch right now, as the special attack is dropped of the Electabuzz, and that is enough to knock out the Terra option. That's Sneasler for Jonathan. And this Electabuzz, it certainly as a support Pokemon, has access to a little bit of chip damage that it can go for here. But then the Archaludon, the more you hit that, the more its body press is boosted up. So you've got to be very careful indeed. This Electabuzz might just not have enough gas in the tank to see this one through.
It's going to be very tough for the Electabuzz to do anything with its only attack being electric type, and resisted by both of Maurice's Pokemon. Of course, we know that the Sinistcha has the Life Dew move, and Jonathan knows that too. It can just recover HP past there, and congratulations on Maurice. That was a roller coaster of a game there, but Maurice managed to navigate it so well. Dire Claw doing absolutely everything that it could. You couldn't ask more of that Sneasler in that match, and it still wasn't quite enough to be able to break through Maurice's defenses.
Well, you could have asked for 3 sleeps. That would have been something that you could have asked from the Dire Claw, but I mean, no, it really gave us the full gamut of the status conditions on display so early on in the day in our EU 2025 season. Goodness, that came down to such fine margins, and although that Electabuzz was so healthy, you might be wondering why Jonathan locked in that forfeit, and Jonathan just recognized that he did not have the offense available to be able to take down the Archaludon and the Sinistcha. You saw how little damage that Electro Web was doing over on Maurice's side on the field. And of course, it's only Electro Web that this Electabuzz can go for, so that would have been the damage that Jonathan was locked into, and of course, you're just boosting up those body presses as you go. So that's game 1 to Maurice in the face of such status conditions coming out from Jonathan. How is Jonathan needing to adapt here, Ben?
This is so difficult. I think maybe one of the things that you could ask for is that Outrage goes into the right slot.
True, yeah.
That's definitely one of the game changes that we had, where it was great to do the damage to our Chaladon, but you had the Sneasler there that can go for close combat. So you really needed that Outrage to be locking into the Annihilate and doing the requisite damage to put it into KO range a little bit earlier. But I think all eyes are going to be on how Jonathan is able to target down that Annihilate in the early game. And I really love this adaptation, getting Dragapult with Sneasler on the field, getting Fake Out, getting the ability for Dragapult to go for those powerful Dragon Darts, maybe locking into Phantom Force if you can do what you need to do to knock out that Mousehold, stop the normal type redirection, and then you're targeting a Ghost type with a Ghost type super effective move before it gets the opportunity to get too many bulk ups going.
You got 3 fierce Pokemon on the field, and you've got a cute family of mice that's providing such ample support for the Annihilate right now. Beat up very much online here. You cannot redirect over on Jonathan's side of the field. You could Fake Out. Of course, you got that Direclaw threat as well. And Maurice has that ability to switch to something in the back as well if he doesn't like the face of this Dragapult into his Ghost-type Annihilate. But it's time to Terastallize. It's time already in turn 1 of this game 2 for the Dragapult to become a pure Dragon-type right now.
That's a really, really dangerous-looking Dragapult.
Yep.
And with the Dragon Darts targeting, it could target both Pokemon down and do a lot of damage. Mousehold going for the Protect. If Annihilate hasn't gone for a Protect, which it has, I think that's probably wise in this situation. Find out what the Dragapult is going to be locking itself into, and it's going to be Outrage. And Charlie, I'm gonna make a call here.
Oh, yeah.
That Outrage would do a lot of damage.
Yeah, I think you're probably right, Ben. I think your years of experience have really come in handy there, as Direclaw going into the Annihilate as well. So may well have been causing a status condition on the field right now. You've got a lot of Dragon Heads staring across at you from the field with that Dragapult's head, then the 2 Dreepy, and then that Dragon Terror Crown as well. Certainly very fierce indeed, but it's a really nice Protect from Maurice, just scouting out what move this Dragapult is now going to be locked into, given it's holding the Choice Band.
And I wonder if Maurice is going to consider going for the Terra Fairy on their Mousehold that's immune to the Dragon typing, would be immune if the Outrage targeted into that slot. As you said before, Jonathan doesn't have control about where that Outrage goes.
Well, let's find out.
Be a Terra.
Oh, it is going into the Mousehold, so Terra Fairy would have got around it. That's going to be enough for the one-hit knockout on all 4 of those little mice. So no more Friend Guard on the field for this poor Annihilate. Here comes Direclaw. Oh my goodness, hold your breath, everybody. What's it going to be doing? Is it going to be causing a status? It doesn't. The Annihilate able to get that bulk up off. Now a boost to its attack and its defense.
And getting set up for the rest of the game. But the adaptation that Jonathan's made, getting that powerful offensive pressure in from the Dragapult right early doors, and also taking advantage of its Terror type as well, boosting up the power of its Outrages yet further, just means that it's going to be breaking through whatever it's going to be targeting down. I mean, we saw the Outrage non-Terror go into the Annihilate in the previous game, and it did, what, 40% roughly? It's got 1 less defense boost, and the Dragapult is Terror this turn, this game. If the Sinistcha decides to go for a Rage Powder, it's going to redirect the Outrage into it. That's probably a one-hit knockout, even though Sinistcha's pretty bulky. And if it targets down into the Annihilate, well, maybe it's not picking up the KO, but it's doing substantial damage.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the question is this Sinistcha actually going to be able to act on this turn? Is it going to be statused once more by this Sneasler? Well, let's find out. First, we're going to see where the Outrage goes. It is into the Annihilate. How much damage are we doing here? A lot. The Annihilate down to 34. Here comes the Direclaw into the Sinistcha. What's it going to do? Paralyze. Okay, let's see. Can the Sinistcha act on this turn? What's it going for? First, we're going to see this Rage Fist coming out from the Annihilate. Boosted once now. And with the bulk up, and that's going to be enough for a one-hit knockout. That is the Terastallization down and out for Jonathan. But now all eyes on this Sinistcha. Is it going to be able to move on this turn? What's it gone for? Yes, it is the Trick Room. We're twisting the dimensions.
And Sinistcha becoming even faster than it once was in the Trick Room environment. That may be a benefit to Maurice in this particular game state. And now we have the speed orders reversed, that Sneasler is going to be the slowest Pokemon on the field, but that does again give Jonathan the opportunity to bring in his Primarina. And the Primarina is sitting in a pretty good spot. I mean, naturally speaking, it is going to be slower or faster in the Trick Room environment than an Annihilate. And because we haven't had the Electro Web that we saw in last game, the speed orders are kind of working in the favor of Jonathan now. But of course, there is the life due from the Sinister. There is the ability to redirect the Moonblast. There is the ability for Maurice to be able to control this situation and use those Rage Fists that the Annihilate has been building up in its favor. That is, if the Sinister is able to move with the Paralysis.
Yeah, you've got a chance that you'll be able to move. You've got a chance that you just won't do anything at all. That is how Paralysis works, as Sneasler decides to sneak on out to the back. And here comes the Electabuzz, ready to provide that support for Primarina. Primarina going to be going for that Protect. Let's see where Maurice has been targeting here. Magic Gotcha, that's going to be a spread type move anyway, as long as it connects onto this Electabuzz, and indeed it does. So into the Electabuzz it goes. Might be a chance to burn here, a little bit of a chance to heal back some HP as well. Just a little bit though, that Electabuzz taking it so very well. And the Electabuzz does get the burn, so it's on a timer at least, and it's such a bulky Pokemon that could actually prove crucial.
Ooh.
Rage Fist targeting into the other slot. So Maurice calling that Protect. Really nice damage onto the Electabuzz. It does hang on, and that is just a testament once more to that Eviolite held item. But that Electabuzz brought down very low, and the burn is going to be enough to pick up the knockout. So there you go. You can see how crucial that Magic Gotcha burn was.
I think Jonathan really playing around the Annihilate, going for a Protect from the Primarina, maybe trying to just make sure that the Primarina hangs on yet another turn, get the Electabuzz in, get a Follow Me on the field, and then be feeling a bit safer about going for on the offensive with the Primarina in Trick Room. Maybe an indication as well to how that Life Orb Primarina has been trained. Maybe it's a little bit more speedy than most, and Jonathan's just trying to play around that. But Maurice just seeing right through it, knocking out the Electabuzz is a big support piece that Jonathan is now missing, and that Annihilate is no longer as safe, nor is the Primarina. But the Annihilate's going to be getting out of here this turn.
Yeah, Maurice deciding that it's unlikely for the Sneasler to be targeting a fighting type attack into that Pokemon, given that it would be doing no damage at all, being a ghost type. And it's going to be the Archaldon switching in. That gets a free defense boost. It's flinched on this turn, but it wasn't going to move anyway, thanks to it just being switched in. So a free defense boost, 2 stamina, boosting on that body press. Not very effective into the 2 Pokemon on the other side, but they really do stack up. And sometimes not very effective damage can just look like really good damage.
It can, and Hype Voice coming out from the Primarina, coming out here and boosting up stamina on the defenses of this Archaludon yet again. So Body Press is active. Not going to be that effective against the Pokemon that Jonathan has on the board. But most crucially, I think, is that Sneasler's Close Combat is going to be much less offensive now that effectively Archaludon has double the amount of defense that it did when it just switched in and took those 2 attacks. So in combination with the Life Dew and the Rage Power from the Sinister, it's going to be very, very tough to be able to take down this Archaludon. You can go for a Haze here on the Primarina, take away those defense boosts, but until you deal with that redirection from the Sinister, you're not consistently going to be able to target down the Archaludon whatsoever.
And it's such good damage from the Sinister into the Primarina. Nearly just pick out the knockout. If we get a burn here, that would be enough to take out the Primarina as the Sinister slowly heals all the way back up. Let's see if there's going to be any burn in sight coming out on either of these Pokemon. It is the Primarina. That is exactly the Pokemon that Maurice would have wanted to burn. So it's going down at the end of this very turn. Dragon Pulse going to be not quite enough to deal with this Sneasler right now. Moonblast into the Archaludon. It's holding the Assault Vest, boosting up its special defense. So really nice item you can give to your Archaludon there. You know what? The burn's not even going to matter because the Life Orb on that Primarina is going to be taking it out thanks to the damage it dealt on that turn. Close combat now, super effective. Into the Archaludon. Going to be enough to pick up the knockout here, but you do have that Annihilate in the back. That Sneasler, very low health. It doesn't have a spread type move.
Now, where there's a will, there's a way, Charlie, in this match, and the way is Diaclaw.
Yeah.
But if I'm not mistaken, we are still going to be in Trick Room for one more turn, and that's going to give the opportunity for the Annihilate to get healed up with a Life Dew, maybe take it out of range of the Sneasler's Dire Claw in this situation. It's going for a protect. It needs to against the two attacks, but it's fully paralyzed. Sinister there, not moving.
Yeah, Sinister is not able to provide its lovely matcher for the Annihilate thanks to that full paralysis. So that could have been really, really crucial there. At least the Annihilate gets a little bit of passive leftovers recovery. Could go for a Protect on this next turn to get even more. Could even try and go for another Life Dew with this match, with this Sinister. It's on full HP and it's already paralyzed, so it can't be status. Perhaps Maurice thinking, well, it's a good thing I did have that status condition earlier on, so I don't get put to sleep now. Yeah. But let's see how this turn plays out. Is it going to be the last one? Dire Claw not enough to pick up the Annihilate. Is it going to be because it's going to get that poison? Okay, that's probably the best one that you want to see in this situation, and it's looking good for Maurice. Here comes the Drain Punch. That's the Sneasler down. Annihilate, a little bit of recovery to boot, and that's absolutely huge for Maurice Uteg, claiming the victory.